Today, here in my shop, I'm going to be making a mobile stand for my Guinevere Sanding System that I got from Klingspore Woodworking Shop out of this broken office chair. Well, actually, I'm not going to use the seat. All I'm going to be using is the rolling base. So stay tuned, you don't want to miss it. Actually, this is not quite as hard as you would think. The first thing you're going to want to do is remove this clip from the bottom of the shaft. I'm just going to take a regular screwdriver and pry in between the clip and the shaft. It'll pop right off. And then basically, you're just going to grab a hold of the base and pull and turn requires a little bit of tugging. There. And it should separate from the shaft. Now we want this part to stay intact because this is what we're going to attach the post to. So now I'm just going to simply measure the width of the shaft to determine what size PVC I want to use for the post. And this is looking like 2 inches. So I'll need a piece of PVC pipe, schedule 40. You want to use schedule 40 for the rigidity of the post with a 2-inch inside diameter. I happen to have a piece of schedule 40 2-inch PVC pipe in my scrap pile from some of the previous projects that I have done. So what I need to do now is determine how high I want the sander to be off the floor. Well, I've determined that mine I want approximately 36 inches. Now this will vary from person to person because you might be a little taller or a little shorter. So that's just something you're going to have to decide. I will tell you this much. If you make it a little bit longer, it will be better because if you want it shorter, you can always cut some of the PVC off. So all I need to do now is just measure up 36 inches, and I'm using the table as my reference. Make a mark and then cut the PVC. So the next thing I'm going to do is measure the base of the Guinevere to determine its size to make my base for it to sit on. So it looks like it's about 5 1/8 by 5 1/2. So I'm actually going to add a little playroom and make my base 6 by 6. Now I need to make the base plate for the top plate to mount the sander. So my base plate is going to be made up out of a piece of scrap 2 by 6, and I'm going to need to drill a hole in the 2 by 6 the same size as the outside diameter of this PVC pipe. Now it's very important that you get it really snug. I mean, even to the point if you have to tap it on with a hammer, because that is going to play a crucial part in the stabilization, to keep the sander from wobbling. So the base plate's going to be 6 by 6. This piece of 2 by 6 is 5 1/2, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it 5 1/2 inches long. So it'll be 5 1/2 by 5 1/2. And then I'll mark out the hole in the center of it the same size as the outside diameter of the piece of 2-inch PVC pipe. Now after determining the center of the 2 by 6, which is 5 1/2 inches by 5 1/2 inches square, I'm simply going to place the 2-inch piece of PVC pipe on the block and trace the outline. Now the reason I'm doing this is because I don't have a 2 3/8 inch diameter bit that will bore or drill this hole. So I'm just going to cut the hole, the circle, with my scroll saw. I'm going to be using my Seiko ST21 scroll saw with a number 3 ultra reverse Pegasus blade from Bear Wood Supply. There we have it. Let's go see how it fits. Yes, a very nice snug fit. Now I'm going to cut the base, which is going to be 6 inches by 6 inches out of this scrap piece of plywood. Now, in order to secure this base plate to the PVC to make sure it doesn't move, I'm going to be putting 2 3-inch screws through the 2x6 and into the PVC. But first I want to drill some pilot holes in the sides. Now I'm going to drill it on the side with the grain of the wood and not on the end grain. And there we have it. That should be nice and secure. So when I went out to the chop saw to cut the top plate, I decided I was going to give myself a little bit more room, and I made this, instead of 6 by 6, 6.5 by 6.5. And I really didn't think you needed to see me just cut this little square block of wood. But I have marked a couple of places on here to drill pilot holes so that I can screw through and secure this to the base plate, which is attached to the PVC. That's what I'm going to be doing now. Whoa here, buddy, hold on. You ain't running away from me yet. And I'm going to center the top plate onto the base plate. And then secure it with a couple of 2-inch drywall screws. So next, it's just a matter of me going over there and getting the Guinevere Sanding base and sticking it on here and attaching it. So now we're ready to attach the motor to the mobile base. And I'm simply going to use some 2-inch screws and put them in at an angle to secure it. Now I don't want to go too deep and too hard. There are some little rubber feet that are on the bottom of this, so I really don't want to crush them. So I'll just put them in really not too tight, in other words, so that I damage the rubber feet. That one actually I got a little too tight, so I'm going to back out on it a little bit. There, that looks pretty good. So I wanted to find a way to mount this flexible shaft here on front, so when I'm using it, it'll be really easy to access. But then I got to looking, and the flexible part of the shaft really sticks out really far to the side. If I'm going to put this away and not going to use it for a while, that's going to take up a lot of space, or could, you know, get in the way of me trying to store it. So I came up with an idea of just hanging the flexible shaft across the front right here. Plenty of room, it fits perfect. It's just there's nothing to stop it from falling off. So went to my scrap pile, found a piece that was 3/8 of an inch thick, and I cut it to the same 6.5 inches across the front, and I'm just going to put that on the front of this to keep this shaft, or keep the cord of the shaft, whichever one you want to call it, from sliding off. Now I've marked on the back side of it some marks. I want it to be at 1 inch from the top of this wooden base. See if I can see my marks. Okay, I've got it on my marks and lined up, and I'm just going to pop a few brad nails in it. And that should hold it. So when I take the flexible shaft and lay it across there like that, and I'm moving it around, it shouldn't fall off. Okay, so now to solve the problem of mounting the wand itself to the front. So what I came up with is I took a piece of 1 inch PVC pipe, cut it 1.5 inches long, and then took it to my scroll saw and cut a slot in it. So now I just need to drill a couple of holes and put some screws, and I can mount it on the front here to hold the wand. Okay, I drilled a couple of pilot holes through the PVC clip that I made to hold the wand. So now I'm simply using a couple of drywall screws, and I'm going to secure it to the front. Okay, so we'll put the shaft back in here. Let's see which way is tightening. That way. Kind of tighten it up. Let's see how this works. Perfect. Great. So now what I'm using, if I'm going to be using it a lot, the wand's right here, readily available in the front. And then if I'm going to put it up and store it for a while, when I'm not going to be using it all the time, I can hang it like this. I think that's going to work out really nice. The only thing that I can think of that I might need to do is add some weight to the base. The reason being is this is pretty light, and until I add some attachments to this side and try to do some sanding with it, I really won't know how it's going to react. So that's one of those things I'm just going to have to wait and try and see. I'm really looking forward to using the Guinevere Sanding System. I'm going to be doing some intarsia projects, so I think this is going to come in real handy, and especially putting it on the mobile base. I'll be able to move it around. Like I said, on a nice warm day, I'll even probably sit outside with it and do some sanding. So I think this is going to come in a lot more handy with it being on the mobile base. I appreciate you watching my video. Thank you so very much. You have a nice day, and God bless.